Hello everyone, welcome to Biology in Minutes. Today we'll be talking about the cell cycle. The cell cycle shows the life of a cell. German scientist Fleming first observed chromosomes during mitosis, and he actually coined the name mitosis. An important thing to know is that a cell's ultimate goal is to survive and reproduce. So here is a picture of the cell cycle. It consists of two phases, interphase and mitotic phase. Interphase is made up of smaller phases, G1, S, and G2, and the mitotic phase is made up of mitosis and cytokinesis. So let's start with the G1 phase. It's also known as the first gap. This phase happens between the mitotic phase and the S phase. In this phase, the cell grows and prepares its organelles. So we see in this picture that over here where the arrow is, that is G1. So next we have the S phase. The S phase is still part of interphase. It's also known as the synthesis phase. This happens right after G1, and in this phase, duplication of chromosomes happen. This is important because it allows new cells to have a complete set of chromosomes. So in the diagram here, we can see that that arrow is where the S phase is. So after the S phase, we have the G2 phase. The G2 phase is also known as gap 2 or second gap. It happens right after the S phase. This is the final phase before mitosis happens, so there's going to be a lot of checkpoints. What I mean by checkpoints is that the cell has a lot of regulators that help them determine whether they are fit to move into mitosis. If there is any error in the DNA, the cell will repair it and make sure it is ready to move on. In this phase, similar to G1, the cell continues to grow and duplicate its organelles. In the diagram here, we see that that arrow is the G2 phase. Notice how the G1, S, and G2 phase, which is interphase, that is 90% of the cell cycle. Most of a cell's life is actually growing and duplicating its organelles to prepare for mitosis, which is actually only 10% of the cell cycle. Now we move on to the mitotic phase, which is mitosis and cytokinesis. Mitosis is made up of the steps prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Mitosis is actually quite a complex process, but basically what happens is chromosomes and organelles are separated into two cells. Finally, cytokinesis happens and it involves splitting the cytoplasm to make two distinct cells. In the diagram here, we can see that there are two new cells and cytokinesis is pinching off the cytoplasm. And that is the end of the cell cycle, which approximately takes 24 hours. But there is another phase, also known as the G0 phase. This phase is known as the gap phase or just the resting phase. Cells can enter this phase at any point of the cell cycle. Cells in the G0 phase are at rest, and they don't go through the cell cycle, which makes them inactive. And there are a couple reasons why a cell may enter G0. One of them being it may not have certain organelles or nutrients to do mitosis or divide. Cells can actually exit the phase once they are ready to divide. A couple of cells in the human body are actually at G0, and those are the muscle cells and the nerve cells. That is the reason if you damage your nervous system, for example, it doesn't really recover because cells in your nervous system are actually not dividing at all. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.